Welcome everyone into our first pregame aftershock of the season. I'm Jamon Moore, and I have a special guest with me today. We're doing a take two, some video problems on our first take, and so we're going to try it without the video on his end. But Tiotal Football from American Soccer Analysis, also the host of Post Space Script, and also the writer of the substack called Absolute Unit. Tiotal, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Jamin. This is a cool setup.
Yeah, you've got this like silky smooth voice that I really enjoy listening to. Your collaboration with John Mueller on Postscript talks about the birth of soccer analysis from a data perspective,
Yeah.
and you've already had a few episodes. I think we're all looking forward to the next one. What's going on in that area?
Yeah, we're looking forward to releasing them. So we put out three, and it was super fun, and then we recorded a fourth before the World Cup, and then everyone got pretty busy with work and life and soccer and the like, and I would say it's in process. We're editing it, so it's we're looking forward to putting that out soon. It is very topical to the upcoming, I don't know, Sloan conference and the upcoming MLS season, so we're excited about that. Then we've got a lot of future stuff to cover there that we're excited about. But yeah, apologies to anyone who's already listening. It's been a while, but they're coming.
Yeah, and I love how people you've talked about on the show have already been making some changes
Yeah,
since the show's aired. Sarah Rudd, for instance, Source Football, they're a new company, Sarah and Ravi, and they're now consulting the Houston Dynamo, and word is that they will soon be consulting Atlanta United, who we're here
yeah,
to talk about today. And part of that is because Ravi's long-term relationship with your new general manager. How are things in Atlanta United land, and how are all the changes this offseason?
yeah. I think everyone is well. We're pretty optimistic. Everyone's is ready to go and ready to go back to the stadium. And that's sort of the case regardless of how good the team is doing. And as you know, they did not perform well or they did not finish well last season. But everyone's real excited about Garth Lagerwey coming in, resetting things. He's talking in language like taking a lot of cap pain this year to set things up for the future. He's using words like that and talking about analytics and robust scouting and processes, all these kind of words that folks like you and I can can understand and get excited about. And the Atlanta fans, I think, are excited about that, despite the not finishing in the playoffs last year.
Yeah, let's talk about that because you got an injury bug that really seemed to hurt you, but you also, I think, you weren't very complimentary of some of your attacking players and
Yeah,
the way that they went about trying to score a high number of shots, but just not very many hitting the back of the net. And then some key injuries on the defensive side. Bring us up to speed as to where everything's at.
yeah, that's a good way to summarize it, I think. And we can talk about keeping as well. But in the attack, right, the story was that they created a ton of shots, top of the league almost in shots, very close to the top of the league in total expected goals off of those shots. But the finishing was not there. They missed maybe 5 or 6 goals off of their xG in terms of finishing, and the question there is why. Many people have theories, but I think where we would sort of land is that when you take a ton of shots that are not very good, a lot of shots from outside the box, low xG per shot, when your attack is sort of faltering in the final third and ending with shots that are not inside the box, you can rack up a ton of expected goal value doing that. And in fact, you can score a lot of goals doing that. But the range of outcomes gets extremely wide, right? When you take a ton of shots with all low values. In a good year, you can bury a ton of those and outshoot your underlying numbers and everyone's happy. And in a bad year, which is what happened, you don't. You miss the target a lot. And so that was the story in attack. We can get to plenty of changes there um, in the attack this year. In the spine of midfield and defense and between the posts, you described it perfectly. There was a terrible injury epidemic. We had a Achilles tear to Brad Guzan, the starting goalkeeper, an Achilles tear to Miles Robinson. Really the team leader and U.S. men's national team caliber center back. It would have been easy to imagine him performing really well in the World Cup and partnering Tim Ream. That's sort of a tragic outcome that happened last year. So, and then Ozzie Alonso, which Gonzo Pineda had brought in to solidify the midfield. We didn't expect 3,000 minutes, out of him at this age, but what we saw of him was great early on. I mean, he just has such a great instinct for the game. He's a legend in MLS. There's not a whole lot more you can say about that, but he tore his MCL. So that all happened in the first half of the season, and the result is that the team gave up sort of bottom third XG chances to their opponent, but worse than that, they had the worst finishing skew on the defensive side. So, the goalkeepers let in 5 or 6 goals more than the expected goals they faced, sort of mirroring the skew on the attacking side. And some of that could be chance, some of that could be luck. We know that in soccer, not everything that happens is the result of intention and causality. But for sure, on the goalkeeping side, we have a much more we have more tolerance for the idea that skews between xG and goals come from sort of a poor goalkeeping, and you can imagine why that happens. Your starting goalkeeper goes down, and they put in a couple guys. Bobby Shuttleworth, who retired in the middle of the year after a couple bad performances. Rocco Rios Novos that came in and really got. I mean, he's very young and very talented, I think, but he just got rocked. And so one way to think about Atlanta last year is that any of those things could have gone the other way. The finishing and the attacking side, the injuries in the defense, or even just a sort of league average competent goalkeeper, and they could have been the playoffs. Instead, everything went the other direction, and they missed.
Right. We had similar problems in San Jose with goalkeeping. JT Marcinkowski, who's been good. I would say not necessarily top of the league stellar in terms of his expected goals. Performances took a nosedive after he lost his goalkeeper coach after Matias Almeida left, which caused a change in San Jose and bringing in a new goalkeeper. Still yet to see who's going to start there. But what's your sense on Guzan at his age? Because word out of preseason, I mean, we're not seeing games, obviously, but word out of preseason is it's been a rough one for him.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing too. And I haven't watched any of the games either, but it would be totally understandable that he would just not be back up to speed after suffering that sort of an injury at that age. This recently to that moment. His numbers heading into that injury were sort of bad to start the season, but he's had sort of good, bad years. He's, recently a pretty average or shot stopper, and then probably has above average other stuff. But I would not be surprised to see him struggle. I would not be surprised to see him lose the job. I bet he starts on Saturday against you guys. Mm-hmm. It wouldn't shock me to see some shakiness there for sure. They brought in Westberg and Diop, who have had good and bad years, and I am particularly interested in seeing like what Diop could do. He had a few years ago he strung together a couple of limited performances but good shot stopping performances. I'd like to see that, but we'll just see. Best case scenario for Atlanta fans is Guzan's back fully, but I'm suspicious of that.
Let's switch gears into the attack. Striker position, been some change. Joseph Martinez now in Inter Miami, and you've got a new striker in there, but it's not clear who's going to start right now.
That's right. Yeah, definitely buried the lead, right? Not talking about Joseph when I'm talking about the attack, because to be honest with you, like one thing we're thinking about year over year here is that the loss, Joseph Martinez went to Miami, but the drop off in contribution from him in terms of 2023, we don't think is going to be that high because he has really struggled since the knee injury in 2020. I mean, there's a real lack of mobility. You can sort of look at him and see the difference in physicality as well, just since the knee injury. And a player like that he's probably worried every time he goes in for a challenge or makes a sprint that he's going to undo everything that he rehabbed. But they brought in Yorgos Giacomakis, a Greek striker was bagging goals in the Scottish league and then the Eredivisie before that, and just sort of the story is he just kind of lost out his job at Celtic to a better striker. So there's a potential here that he could be great. I mean, he's older than than past designated player profiles at Atlanta United. I think that's a Garth Lagerwey special there, going for just contribution and performance and not necessarily, future transfer value, right? So we're excited about him. I don't know if you guys are going to see him on Saturday or not. I think they're working through visas and stuff like that. So that would be unfortunate for Atlanta, but a bonus for y'all. I think Miguel Berry, who they just recently signed from DC, could start against San Jose, or Machop Chol, a homegrown out of Wake Forest. He's been spending some time there in the preseason, so we'll see.
I like your winger setup. Derek Etienne Jr., Luis Araujo on the other side. Talk to me about the changes going on in the wingers, and then let's get to the guy in the middle who people are talking about. Almada there. Let's get through those three players. This is looks like a potentially pretty special attacking group for you. And a change from those ball to feet players that have to get the ball and then dribble toward goal. This looks like more guys who will work off the ball to generate chances, hopefully a better set of chances for Atlanta United. What are your thoughts about this trio?
Yeah, that's a great way to frame it up. I think we're real excited about the additional penetration off the ball that creates possible great goal scoring chances that are assisted from passes, right? Or that guys that get in the right spots and they get rebounds. That's sort of nice, healthy expected goal contribution. When I talk about the low XG per shot last year and the high volume of attacking chances, Atlanta had a lot of the ball. They took a lot of shots. One reason you could imagine that happening is just this idea that all the players wanted the ball, like you said, in the final third. Marcelino Moreno, who is gone now, he was an attacking mid that sort of never really fit in a perfect shape. He was sort of always getting in the way of someone like Thiago Almeida. But the hope is that swapping out, a ball to feet player like Moreno for an off-ball run guy like Etienne Jr. creates the sort of dynamism that you need. There's some kind of, I don't know, symbiotic stuff going on there that just elevates the attack. All that being said, it might elevate the attack marginally in total XG, but we just might see a more consistent attack there. And on your question on Almada, I mean, he went to the World Cup. That's a first. He's the World Cup champion. He comes off of that, and hopefully is motivated to take the next step in his career off the back of a huge performance this year. I mean, he looked special last year, but he looked special in a way that was sort of pinned in. For the ball to move into the final third, for Atlanta to rack up all those shots, it was almost like they couldn't get it there unless Almada received the ball deep and then moved it forward. I'm looking forward to him possibly getting touches on the ball in the box more or in the final third.
Yeah, we're running out of time, but I do want to touch on the defense here because you do have Miles Robinson back. But there also have been some kind of questions in terms of, whether Alonso is going to be healthy and available around Sosa at the defensive midfielder spot. Where's the back line, right now and the players protecting them?
Yeah. So the back line looks like Miles Robinson, who we hope is good to go and healthy, right? We'd be happy with just an average or above average center back performance there. It would be a delight and a surprise to see him immediately go back to his old self. Partnering him is a guy named Louis Abram out of he was most recently in Liga MX, but when I looked at him and his numbers in Velez in Argentina a few years ago, they were very, very good on the ball. So we'll see if he's got this sort of center back grittiness to put out fires, partnering Miles Robinson, who may not be as quick as he used to be. We don't know. But in front of them, most importantly, right, those guys will shine if the midfield gives them some protection. And to answer your question, I mean, I don't think you're going to see Ozzy Alonso this weekend. I'm not sure when we're going to see him as Atlanta fans at any point in the season. He seems kind of far off in terms of that recovery. So you're sitting there looking at Sosa, who's got limited mobility, but a nice diagonal ball. Franco Ibarra, who has limited mobility and is really struggling in the last year or so, and then Amar Sejdic, who is sort of handy and sort of sharp on the ball, but he's a senior minimum player, right? We don't have a huge contributor in midfield. The hope would be that maybe in the summer they go get somebody like that. But the biggest worry for Atlanta going into this year, even if all the injury stuff is fine and even if the additions work, the biggest worry remains that midfield. Just not a ton of dynamism, either in attack or in sort of ground coverage and defense.
Well, Tiotal, it's been great to get a chance to talk to you. Again, the podcast is post-based script. We talked about that really quickly. Give us a quick update on Absolute Unit, your Substack.
Yeah, so Absolute Unit is sort of my passion project of applying principles I've learned in school and in the workforce via analogy to soccer front offices. It's sort of if you imagine finance and accounting and business principles mapping over to not the actual finances of a soccer club, but the structures and processes of building a team and sort of achieving success. That's sort of that was the plan on Absolute Unit. It has been somewhat dormant lately, although I got a post out a few weeks ago. So it's still active. There's a ton of, I would hope, evergreen stuff there to read if you haven't checked it out. Appreciate that.
Yeah, I enjoy both of those things you have going. You also have the Atlanta United preview on American Soccer Analysis. All of us at American Soccer Analysis are putting out previews, although some of them, including mine, are going to come after the opening game. So they will run into next week just for sake of time. But it's been exciting to have you on. And I would encourage fans to go check out that Atlanta United preview to get a better sense for what to expect from the team in the game on Saturday and also this season. So looking forward to it. Tiotal, thanks for joining me today. And we will be catching you on the ASA Slack probably just later today, between the two of us.
I've got to hit 18 holes in a little bit, but yeah, I'll be on there tonight. Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, Jamon. I'm looking forward to your preview and best of luck this season as well.
All right. Have a good season, and we'll be talking to you soon. Take care.
All right. Thanks, Jamon.
Bye bye.